Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Denise Bryson on today's show.
Welcome everyone to our show today, where we will be interviewing Denise Montgomery. She is the author of I Want to Go, The Blessing, Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline, The Children's Story, and
The Setup.
The Setup. I know. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'll start over. Can I do that? Yeah. So I'll put this back up here where I need it. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining our show, where we encourage everyone to drop everything and read. I have the pleasure to be interviewing Denise Montgomery. She is the author of her current book, I Want to Go, and then The Blessing, The Setup, and Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline's The Children's Story. Welcome, Denise, to our show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I am so excited to be here. Thank you again for this opportunity. I am, as you said, I'm the author of 4 books, and my latest book is I Want to Go. I'm a Dallas native. I'm a product of Dallas ISD. I'm also a teacher, an author, and a speaker. I taught for 23 years in Dallas ISD, and now at the present time, I'm teaching GED classes, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm just in the process of trying to get my books out there and get them seen. I Want to Go is basically about the state fair, so I'm pushing it right now. But I have one wonderful son who I absolutely love, and single parent, and I'm excited about what's going on with him.
That is amazing. So let's talk about I Want to Go. So right now, Texas is in the heart of the state fair.
Yes.
And so this book is a historical book, and it talks about the state fair back in the 60s. And so could you tell us, what inspired you to write the book first? Let's talk about that.
Well, Denise, in August of 2018, matter of fact, you and I were in a book conference in Houston. And an editor passed by me and he asked me, he said, you haven't written her book yet. And I looked at him, I was like, I didn't have any idea what he was talking about. He said, no, you haven't written her story. He said, she's ready to tell her story. And I was going, okay. But he basically said that story of the little girl hasn't gotten out. I thought about it, Denise, and before I knew it, I was just in tears, because I remembered the story of myself. It was Fair Day 1965. At that time, African Americans, we only had the fair was segregated. So we only had one date that we could go to the fair. And that was the second Monday in October. I woke up that morning, I was so excited about going. My grandmother would take us to the fair every year. But this year stood out. So it was 6 of us. I had 2 brothers and 3 sisters. I got up and we were all ready. My grandmother had fried the chicken, because we had to take our own food because we really weren't sure we'd be served at the fair. So grandma had fried the chicken. We had the French fries. We were ready to go. Well, about 10 o'clock, it started to rain. I mean, and it was raining. And I'm going, okay, no big deal. We can still go. And I just kept holding out hope. And my grandmother came by and she called me Lisa. And she said, Lisa, sweetie, we're not going this year. She said, we'll have to wait till next year. Well, that didn't make sense to a 10-year-old. I'm going, why can't we go? She said, well, it's raining. So in my mind, the fair has always been here for the whole month of October. Why couldn't we just go on another day? And Denise, nobody ever said, well, Denise is Colored Folks Day. I just thought that was the norm that we went on that day. And she said, well, it's Colored Folks Day. And my sisters were like, oh, get over it, we'll go next year. So as a result, I did eventually figure out that was our day. And the fair was desegregated in 1967. So, but I figured it out. But that memory, it basically just kind of haunted me, because I didn't think it was fair that a child could only go to the fair one day out of the year, when the fair was open for the entire month of October. So I sat down in 2019 and with a consultant, and I just started, remembering what I was going through, and I wanted to write a book. Now I wrote it; it was my experience, but I wrote the fictionalized version of it because I wanted to bring in the history, everything that was going on in the country during that time. So what I did, I made a fictional character. The main character, the protagonist, is Renee and her best friend James. They live 90 miles outside of Dallas. And I want to make sure the readers understand it wasn't just Dallas. It was any people, all people of color. We had one day in October that we could go. So in the story, Renee and her family, they live about 90 miles out of Dallas. Renee is all excited about coming to the fair. And she's trying to convince her parents to bring them, because during this time, it was right in the heart of the civil rights movement, okay? Dr. King and the civil rights movement was right. Everything was just at the head. So Renee's mother and father are concerned about coming to Dallas. So that's where our story begins. Renee is doing her best to convince her parents to let her come.
Wow, and it's such an amazing story. I was telling someone that, when reading it, it was just such an amazing story. And I know it's really nonfiction, but you told it from a fictional perspective. Yes. And so that's what was really amazing about. So you told us a little bit about the book, but what did you learn in writing the book? What did you learn?
As a teacher, Denise, I'm not saying that there aren't books out there that are available for kids, but I don't believe that there's one where there's someone with an actual experience. So my point in writing, I want to know, is because I wanted students to realize, because like I said, Denise, I didn't just talk about my experience. I brought in all of the flavor from that era. So we talk about Rosa Parks sitting on the bus. I make sure the kids understand that. I talk about the riots that were in Watts, California, because that was going on during that time. I mentioned this, Dr. King coming over the bridge. I mentioned the bus boycott because I wanted the students to understand. And then I even went so far as to talk about the Black codes, because African Americans, if we went in a store, we had to stand back and we had to wait until the white customers were served, and we couldn't come in. So I brought in all of the history and everything that was going on in that era, because I wanted kids to understand. And then I even went so far as the teacher in me just got really excited, Denise. And I put some comprehension questions in the back of the book, because I wanted to give teachers a chance to, start a discussion. So there are a few comprehension questions in the back of the book so that teachers will have the opportunity to discuss things, because I'm a strong believer, if you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. So I just had a lot going on when I was writing it, and I'm so glad I got it out.
That is good. And when you wrote it, I mean, just the response from it, what has surprised you the most about writing the book and your response from it? What has surprised you the most?
Well, Denise, most people have said, "Oh, this is your new book," and I said, "No, I actually wrote it in 2019." The difference is, Denise, when I wrote it in 2019 and I got it out there, I told it as a fiction story because that's what it is. But I didn't put any input from me in it. So when I wrote the book, I got it out in 2019, and I just told the story of Renee. Her name is Renee, but they call her Renee. And I told the story of Renee and her best friend, some things that they went through. And I didn't get any reaction because everybody was just thinking it's just another book about a Black kid. 2020, I did the same thing. This time I even made it a point to go out to the fair and take pictures. But this year, Denise, I made sure I let people know that it was my story. Oh my God, what a difference that made. That I've had quite a bit of response, emails, questions, and it's been just, the response has just been outstanding. I'm so
Right.
excited about it.
So that lets us know that sometimes when we tell things from from the non-fictional perspective, sometimes people have more relatability to it because it's really a true story. And so
Yes.
that's what has made the difference this time. Well, we're going to take a break and we'll come back and we'll hear from our wonderful, amazing sponsors.
Marianne Fairmouth is a career consultant with 30 years experience in the national recruiting world, a multi-award winning author in multi-genres, and a speaker that gives presentations to help you succeed. Her book, Revolutionary Recruiting, made the top 20 global list of recruiting books. Find her on Amazon, your favorite bookstore, or at fairmouth.com.
To embrace your children's imagination, check out Diane Floyd Bame's books for kids. There's The Moonling Adventures, all about the animals in the Serengeti. And then there's Harry the Camel, learning to love yourself just the way you are. Then The Little Girl in the Moon. There's one about friendship, another one about the big ideas, which is an inspirational story. And then Tour Tycho Town, right there in Tycho Crater on the moon. All of Diane Floyd Bame's books are available at B4R Store.
Hello, I am the author Denise Bryson. My first book is The Things That Cross My Mind, Inspirational Poetry with Life Lessons. And then my audio book is Love's Reality. And it is also inspirational poetry with a jazzy flair. And then my new book is The Sex, the Lies, and the Soul Ties. They're really short stories written from a poetic expression. And then I have my first children book series, the Blinky series, which the first book is called Meet the Coins, and it is both in English and Spanish. And then the new book, From Coins to Bills. I am the author, Denise Bryson.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Denise Bryson on today's show.
Welcome back, everyone. We have been discussing Denise's new book, I Want to Go. And so we've been talking about that. She is the author of I Want to Go. She is the author of The Blessing. She is the author of The Setup and Lady Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline, a children's story. So, but we've been talking about her most recent book that she has written called I Want to Go, and it is a true story, and it's written somewhat from a fictional perspective, but it is her story. And so she is talking about her journey with the state fair in 1965. And so we're getting to hear about that. And of course, the State Fair of Texas is going on right now.
Yes.
So this might be a wonderful historical book that you can buy and you can support her and get it, because it's such an amazing story. I mean, you won't put it down. It's so fun. It's so much fun, and it's got a lot of great characters in it. And we're waiting on a sequel, of course.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked that question. What is Renee doing next? I'm going, when I start writing, she'll tell me.
She'll tell you. So what other characters in the book? And just give the characters. We don't have to have the storyline because we want people to go buy it and read it.
Well, as I said, Denise, Renee is 10 years old. Her best friend, James. Okay, and Renee and James are best friends. James and his mother are in a situation. So that's another story that I need to bring out. Okay, and then Renee has a brother, and she has a sister, Elma, and she has a brother, Junior, and she has a little sister named Birdie. And you know how that is. Birdie is 6 and Renee is 10, and they're getting on each other's nerves. But the staple of that family is the mother and the father. The mother is a praying saint, and she prays about everything. Okay, and then we have a hardworking father. They live on a farm, and this is the 60s, and they're all embroiled. And I wanted to bring out that the church is always been the bedrock of the African-American family. So I wanted people to understand the dynamic that the church brings in. So the family everything kind of revolves around, they're associated with the church. They're a close-knit community. I really think you'll enjoy it because it just feels like home.
That's amazing. And that is so true. So now I want to talk about, I'm going to come back to the other two, The Blessing and The Setup. But since we're talking about children's stories, I want to talk about Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline, the children's story. And the reason why I want to talk about that, because I think it's so relevant to today, because we're really talking about a blended family, or a family that has adoption. They adopted these children. So tell us just a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about all the 5-star reviews you got, because you got 5-star reviews on, as you. I think I saw at least 9 or 10 of them out there when I was doing my research, 5-star reviews from just this story. And this is such an amazing story as well. Just tell us a little bit about it.
Denise, Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline was my first book. And it's a charming story of a quaint little farmer and his wife. And they, they're not the sharpest knives in the drawer, but they love each other. But their one thing is they never had any children. And they've been out here on the farm for so long, they have no idea how to go about getting the children. So they seek the advice of wise old owl. And they just happen, they don't know that owls are nocturnal. So what they do, they wake him up in the middle of his nap. So the owl decides, I'm going to get back at them. So basically, he tells them a few things they have to do that make absolutely no sense. And the normal person would never even think about doing these things. But Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline say, okay. Well, the little do they know, Denise, that on the other side of the forest, there actually are children that have been abandoned. So the owl tells them to go out in the field every night and dance. You're going to put some seeds in the field and go out there every night and you're going to dance. And the children are going to start to grow. Well, guess what? The children that are out there that have been abandoned, they've never heard music before because they've been told to stay quiet, stay in your corner, and don't come out. So when these children hear music for the first time, they are just drawn to this music. So Jacob is the oldest child in the camp. He shows up first. And as in the midst of Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline dancing, they happen to see Jacob, excuse me. So what do they automatically think, Denise? They think that it's working. They think the children really are growing. So they continue. The owl tells them, you need to do this for 7 nights. So the next night, they go back out and they dance again. Well, guess what? Now it's 2 kids. So they think, oh my God, it's really working. Well, the owl never intended for this to happen. So he seeks the advice of the goats on the farm. But in the process, all of the children that have been abandoned in the forest are eventually found. And they are a blended family because they're of different nationalities. And, as they said, we all live happily ever after. It's a delightful story. I really enjoyed writing it. It was a wonderful time in my life.
I just think that all of your books have such a backstory, I guess, a story that is relevant to what's going on in today's society. And so that's why I wanted to bring that out, because we talked about, I want to go the historical factors there, but this is also a story about people adopting kids of other nationalities. And so that is so very popular today. Yeah, it's very popular today. So then let's talk about, and I just think, everybody that read it said had really good things to say about it, as far as it's a good read. It will be a good story for your children to know. And so I just want people to know that, because I want people to really start supporting our authors here on Indie Beacon Radio, because they have amazing stories. And so it is really pertinent that they begin to buy these books and really support the authors, because we have, it's just really
good. And
it's
so many good independent authors out there now. It really is. And, it's just time to invest in us, meaning me and you and all the rest of us. It's time. You don't have to just get the big names. We got some good stories.
Good stories. And I always, what I always tell you, yours are movies. Yours can be movies. And so
I'm gonna hold on to that.
I think if somebody just begin to read, they need some new movies, because they're starting to rehash, and so they need some new stories. So this is where they need to come and get the new stories. So let's talk about, because here go another one, the setup. Let's talk about that. Great reviews out there on Amazon. You got great reviews. Everybody said this is a page turner. You must read it. So it's a must read. So just tell us a little bit about that before we go to our next break.
Well, Denise, as a matter of fact, I just redid the cover of the setup because I wanted it to reflect what it's about. And it's called The Setup: Life Was Never the Same After the Flood. And Denise, to be perfectly honest with you, this story is actually based on me too. It's actually based on me and my sisters. one sister in particular, and my grandmother. My grandmother was a feisty little woman, and of course my mom. So basically, it's about uh, excuse me, it's about Marie. Marie is turning 21, and she's ready to have a night out on the town. You know, when you're 21, can't nobody tell you nothing, no way. So she decides she wants to go out. Marie's mother is very, very religious, and she's holding on to her girls. She has two daughters, Marie and Thelma, and she's holding on to them for dear life because she doesn't want them to end up like she does. But see, when you holding on to a secret, you know it's about to come out. So Marie, oh my God, I'm so sorry, Denise. Sorry about that. All right, so it is of Denise. Marie does get her chance to go out on the town. But guys, when she goes, she meets a guy named James. And you know, everything look good, ain't good, right? James is more than she bargained for. So she gets tangled up in a situation with James, and it's gonna turn her life around. The characters in the book are so lifelike. So we have Thelma the sister. Thelma is the goody two-shoes sister. And then we have as a result, we ended up Madam B comes into the story. And Madam B was like my grandmother. She was like my grandmother, and it ended up she was like the heroine in the story. She ends up saving the day. It was a great book. I think it's a great book.
Great book. And your reviewers thought it was a great book as well. They said
Thank you.
they couldn't put it down. That's what they said about it. They couldn't put it down. So wait a minute, we're going to go and hear some more from our wonderful sponsors.
Publishing marketing package for authors. A $1,500 value, save 40% now. Includes a 6-piece marketing kit of 250 bookmarks, 250 business cards, 250 postcards, 1 table banner, 1 table runner, and 50 download cards, plus book cover design, ebook creation, PDF setups, upload to Ingram Spark, scroll placement, video commercial, and interview on IBS. Plus much more. Email bourgeoismedia@look.com for details or bourgeoismedia.com.
Hi, I'm Mel Greenberg, author of Running with Our Eyes Closed, book 1 in the Empty Nested series. To the world, Samantha has the perfect life. 3 wonderful children, a loving husband, so she thought, and a life split between Dallas and Italy. When her youngest leaves for college, it all comes crashing down, forcing Samantha to re-examine everything. Over 7 days in one of the most romantic countries in the world, Samantha faces the past she thought she'd overcome and begins to redefine her role as a woman, a wife, and a mother.
What would you do if you had to put your life on hold to care for a loved one? Well, during COVID, almost all of us have been doing just that. I'm Charlotte Canyon, award-winning author, actress, and speaker. And my book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, shows you how you can revive, thrive, and survive with 4 golden rules. You have to love one another. You have to respect one another. You have to have patience with one another. And most of all, you've got to forgive one another. I'm Charlotte Canyon, and I approve this message.
Welcome to the Indie Beacon Show, where readers can discover great new indie authors. Find us on all major podcast systems and YouTube. Join Denise Bryson on today's show.
Welcome back, everyone, to our radio show. We have been interviewing the amazing Denise Montgomery and her books, I Want to Go, talking about her masterpieces, I Want to Go, The Setup, The Blessing, and Farmer Brown and Lady Madeline's A Children's Story. So now we're going to finish up with The Blessing, because The Blessing is a page turner. I'm telling you, you want to get that one because you'll be like, oh, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So anyway, let's go. Please tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go to our closing.
You know what? When you're going through something, I found that the best way to deal with going through is put it in. The Blessing is a story of triumph, great abuse. The main character was being abused, and her name is Emily. Emily was being abused, but it's a story of triumph and betrayal. but how we just have to keep going on. Perseverance. So it starts out, Emily is 16. She's in a dysfunctional family. The father's crazy, the mother's crazy. She has a sister named Charlene. Basically, things are not going good at home. So Emily decides, I'm gonna run away because I gotta escape. And she does. She ends up in Arizona. She meets this guy. She thinks he's the better than peanut butter and jelly, and she finds out it's not about how it looks on the outside, it's what's on the inside. So through a lot of changes, she ends up right back in Arkansas where the story starts. And that's where all of the abuse and everything that she has to go through. But it's a beautiful story of triumph. I don't want you to think it's just good triumphs after all. And I just think readers will enjoy the storyline. I know I did. I enjoyed writing it because it helped me get out a lot. And I think I was using the book as a way to advocate, and so I was using a portion of the book to give to a domestic violence shelter. So I'm just real excited about it. I'm in the process of redoing it because when I wrote it, that wasn't the ending that I had in mind. So I rewrote it, and I got the ending that I meant to have all along. So I'm just excited to get it back out there.
That's amazing, Denise.
Thank you.
We really have enjoyed. Well, where can we find you on social media, and where can people buy your book?
Well, I'm Denise Montgomery. I'm Denise Montgomery on everything. Instagram, Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. My books are available at my website at denisemontgomery.org. They're available at Authors Marketing Guild, at Authors Market, and in any place where books are sold. I'm just excited to be a part of this. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us today. We are glad to hear about all your masterpieces. We have been talking to the author, Denise Montgomery, and we want you to please go out there and support our authors here at Indie Beacon Radio. Go out and buy these amazing stories, and there'll be something for you to read. You should drop everything and read. Reading is something that we have to continue to do. So anyway, just go out and support them. We thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to us, and we'll see you next time here on Indie Beacon Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have been your host, Denise Bryson.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Indie Beacon Show, produced by Biala Bourgeois for the Authors Marketing International LLC. Copyright 2021. Voiceover by Biala Bourgeois. If you would like to be a sponsor of the show, please email us at authorsmarketing@outlook.com. If you would like to be on the show, please complete the form found on our website at indiebeacon.com. You may also watch previous year's shows on the website. Music is Frolic of Words, created for Indie Beacon